Okay, so here we are. We're looking at Cool Cats, and we want to give you some instructions about our Cool Tracks window. Let's start with saying that a Cool Tracks consists of various topics, chords, tunes, improv, general, or student tracks. We're looking at chords currently now. We could be looking at tunes or improv or general or student tracks, which is the list of the tracks that you've chosen as a student. But let's go back to chords. And there, in each of these general categories, there are tracks. And you notice there's a track called Shells Level 1 and Patterns Level 1 and Voice Leading Level 1. And within each track, there are a set of lessons. Okay, so the first thing to understand is how you choose what tracks and lessons you're working on. If you click on these on these little boxes to the left, you can add the track to the tracks you're using, or you can remove the track. And this is important because if you look at student tracks, these check tracks appear. So if I take a look at student tracks, you notice that Shells Level 1 is here as one of the tracks that appear, but nothing else, none of the unused tracks or unchecked tracks appear. So here's them, and you notice there are lessons. And a lesson, to control your lesson use, a lesson, each lesson has a star showing its status. A gray lesson means it's a lesson that you haven't dealt with yet. A green lesson indicates a lesson you're working on, and a blue lesson indicates a lesson that you have completed. You can change the status of one of these lessons by clicking on the star and assigning the lesson, or unassigning it, or saying it's been completed. So there you have so now we have how you manage what categories you're looking at, what tracks you're working from, what lessons you're working on. To take a look at a lesson itself, and by clicking on it, and it brings up a little lesson window.
Okay, at this time we're looking at our
Well,
third and
let's turn Dan off. But here's Dan, and he's a lesson has a video in it, a lesson has some instructions, and a lesson has some lesson sheets to work on typically. So here's Dan talking about the lesson. We could click on this little checkered box, and the video would appear full screen, and then there's a similar box that will bring it back into this small screen. You can of course pause or start or continue the lesson and control the volume. Instructions, you can minimize them or view them, and the actual lesson sheets. Let's take a look at what a lesson sheet looks like. Here's a lesson sheet, and typically you'd want to print these lessons, but this sort of gives you instructions and a little set of music that you're going to play in this lesson. Okay, so let's go back to here, and that's it. Now, sometimes on the bottom of this screen, you may see a place that talks about associated lessons, which is very similar to these also see lessons, which is just another lesson that you might want to take a look at while working on this one. Now, as you progress through, oh, I'll go back here. You notice that you can close the lesson box by clicking up here. Okay. As you progress through these lessons, you will eventually come to um, the end of the track, and it'll tell you you've completed the track, and it gives you tips as to what track you may want to work on after you complete this one. Okay. That's in general what you want to do. Now, no, I don't want to say that. The other thing that I would like to suggest is that Dan typically likes you to work on multiple tracks at a time. So, and as a matter of fact, as you start, you probably ought to work on just the shells track. Over in improv, you may want to work on blues improv level one. In general, we could try scales level one, be a good thing to work on. And in tunes, you choose some tunes to play. Now, because we're working back here on shells and we haven't gotten into patterns or chord parts and stuff, so your tunes you ought to choose a pretty similar. Now, shells to fifth is pretty tunes shell melody, and these tunes will match what you're learning. So choose one here now. Now, in looking at tunes, you notice that if we take something uh, like Darn That Dream, which is a tune that is copywritten material, we don't really provide you the lesson sheet for that because we're not allowed to provide you the lesson sheet. In this case, you should probably go off and get or highly recommend that you go off and get a fake book or two of your favorite style of things. You may even want to look for fake books that have a number of these tunes in them. Or if not, you can view this lesson and to understand the concepts, but play it with one of your own favorite tunes because the concepts are here, and then you'd have your own favorite tune with your lesson sheets and you just apply the same concept with your favorite tune. And in general, that's the way you want to progress. Anyways, you don't always want to be playing what we want you to play. You want to play what you want to play. Okay, so here we are. So that's in brief. What's there? You could have clicked on here, and there's instructions that are similar to what I just talked about in written form. Or you could just move along. Okay, so